Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the jargon so you don't have to. Today we're diving into Cyngn Inc's latest report, and let's just say there's a new sheriff in town, or at least a new CFO who seems to be settling in for the long haul with some pretty sweet terms. We'll break down what this appointment means for the company and what those key numbers really tell us. And hey, if you like getting these clear, no nonsense breakdowns, make sure you're subscribed and join our Discord community linked in the description. Alright, let's get straight to it. This is our current report from Cyngn Inc, a company we've talked about before. The big news here is a change in their financial leadership. They've officially appointed Natalie Russell as their Chief Financial Officer. She's been acting in an interim role since June of 2025, so this isn't a complete surprise. So this isn't a complete surprise. So this isn't a complete surprise, but this isn't a complete surprise. But the details of a new agreement are definitely worth discussing. So Natalie Russell, who's 30 years old, is now officially the Chief Financial Officer. She actually joined Cyngn back in March of 2023 as the Director of Accounting. Before that, she was at Soe Projects working with tech and life sciences companies, and earlier in her career, she spent time at Ernst & Young, a big name in accounting. She's also a certified public accountant in California, which is a significant credential. It seems like they're really counting on her expertise. Now, let's talk about the juicy details of her compensation package. As CFO, Natalie Russell will be earning an annual base salary of $250 up to 20% of her base salary. That's a solid salary for the role. On top of that, she's eligible for a performance-based bonus, which could be up to 20% of her base salary. This bonus depends on how the company does overall and how she performs individually, all subject to the company's discretion. So while there's a target, it's not guaranteed. Beyond her regular pay and bonus, Cyngn has also put in place a severance and change of control agreement. This is pretty standard for executive roles, and it basically outlines what happens if she's let go without a good reason, or if she decides to leave for a good reason, or if the company itself is bought or undergoes a major change like a merger or selling off most of its assets. Let's break down the severance. If she's terminated without cause, or if she resigns for good reason, or in specific situations around a change of control, she's entitled to a few things. First, a lump sum payment equal to 6 months of her current base salary. Second, a prorated bonus for the year she leaves. Assuming the company hits its performance targets, and if it's related to a change of control, she gets 6 months of her annual bonus amount. Importantly, a portion of her unvested stock awards will also vest in these scenarios. 25% normally, but a much higher 50% if it's tied to a change of control. Plus, the company will cover her safety net, and the report also confirms that she wasn't appointed because of any special deals with other people, and there are no family ties to current directors or executives that would need to be disclosed. This is pretty standard stuff for these filings, just making sure everything is above board. Now, beyond the appointment itself, the company also issued a press release about this on August 14th. A couple of days after Natalie Russell's official appointment date. This is often done to make sure all investors get the same information at the same time, which is what Regulation FD is all about. This press release, Exhibit 99.1, likely reiterates the key points we've just discussed about Natalie Russell stepping into the CFO role. It's their way of communicating important personnel changes to the public and the market. And finally, the report lists out all the exhibits that support this filing. We've got the offer letter detailing her employment terms, the severance and change of control agreement, and that press release we just mentioned. There's also a mention of an interactive data file, which is standard for XBRL compliance, making financial information machine readable for regulators and analysts. And the report is signed off by Natalie Russell herself in her new capacity as Chief Financial Officer, dated August 15th, 2025. Now, looking at these developments for Cyngn Inc, the appointment of a permanent CFO is a positive. It signals stability and confidence in their chosen leadership. Natalie Russell's background, particularly her experience at I and her CPA qualification, suggests she's well equipped to manage the financial complexities of a growing company, especially in the tech sector. The compensation package, while generous, is also pretty typical for a CFO role, especially with the severance and change of control clauses, which are standard practice to align executive interests with the company's long-term stability and potential sale. The key takeaway here is that Cyngn is solidifying its financial team. Investors generally like to see this kind of stability as it reduces uncertainty. However, without seeing the company's actual financial performance in detail from this report, it's hard to say definitively if this appointment is a sign of strong growth or a move to stabilize finances during a challenging period. Typically, a robust financial performance would accompany such an appointment, but this filing is primarily about the personnel change and the associated agreements. One thing to keep an eye on is how her performance bonus plays out. If the company consistently achieves its targets, it means she's contributing to growth and profitability, which is good news for everyone. If the bonuses aren't met, it could indicate performance issues that investors would want to understand. The severance package itself isn't necessarily a red flag, but a company that frequently has to pay out severance to its executives might suggest underlying issues with management retention or strategic direction. Overall, the appointment of Natalie Russell as CFO is a step towards strengthening Cyngn's internal structure. It brings in experienced leadership at a critical financial role. The next major question for investors will be how the company performs financially under her guidance, especially in relation to any announced strategic goals or market challenges. Alright, that's our breakdown of Cyngn Inc's latest filing and the key appointment of their new CFO. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Do you think Natalie Russell is the right person for the job? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. And as always, check out the Discord link in the description to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you next time.